Shalom, I'm Rabbi Michael Panitz, speaking to you from the pulpit of Temple Israel of Norfolk, Virginia, where I've had the privilege to serve as rabbi since 1992. Tonight is the second part of a two-part series, understanding what are the lessons to be learned from Hanukkah, the Jewish Festival of Lights. Last week, we focused on the history of Hanukkah, and tonight we're going to focus on the story and saga of Hanukkah. When it comes to Hanukkah, we know the story better than the history. Last week, we looked at the history. In brief, the Syrian-Greek tyrant Antiochus IV, an intolerant ruler who wanted all his subjects to join in his form of worship, Jewish insurgents fighting for the freedom to live by the dictates of their own faith, the military victory of Judah the Maccabee and his troops, restoring the Jerusalem temple to Jewish control, the Jewish forces finding the temple in ruins and devotedly refurbishing it. And finally, the joyous rededication held on the morning of the 25th day of the Hebrew month of Kislev. According to the history, whose account I have just given in telescopic form, the reason for the date of the holiday, 25 Kislev, is straightforward. Judah rededicated the Jerusalem temple on the anniversary of the day on which Antiochus IV had converted that temple into a pagan shrine. The history also furnishes the answer to the question of why is the holiday 8 days in duration. It was a makeup for the 8-day festival of tabernacles, booths, the holiday of Sukkot. Second Maccabees, a book written a few decades after the event to urge Jews outside of Israel to celebrate the new holiday, discusses this. That book relates that when the Jewish soldiers rededicated the temple, they recalled that only recently, during the fighting, they had been unable to celebrate Sukkot properly. And therefore they carried lulav and etrog, palm fronds, citrons at the dedication, just as Jews do to this day on the Sukkot holiday. They even called the new holiday Sukkot in Kislev. And this is before it got its name, Hanukkah. But all of that, helpful as it is, holds less weight in Jewish memory than the story of Hanukkah. You know it. If by some chance you do not, the story is readily available online and in print, and even a cappella singing groups now do it. The story focuses on the miracle of the oil that just wouldn't quit. Only enough pure olive oil, undefiled by the enemy, to keep the temple lamps lit for 1 day, but it burned and burned for 8 days until replacement oil could be pressed and delivered. That's the story. As we have seen, the historical accounts of Hanukkah explained both the calendar date of the holiday and its duration. The rabbinic story needed to address both those questions as well, and it did so in its own fashion. The miracle story of the oil is obviously tailored to explain the 8-day length of the holiday. But why, according to the story, does the holiday begin on 25 Kislev? The rabbinic answer is that the fighting ended on 25 Kislev. They gave a fanciful etymology of the word Chanukah, dividing it into Chanu and the letters Kaf He, which means they made camp on the 25th, i.e. the soldiers finished fighting and went into camp on the 25th of Kislev. Turning to the present. In this strange year of 2020, I've been thinking about the different lessons to be gleaned from both the actual history and the beloved story of Hanukkah. It's not hard to realize that the historical holiday foregrounds the political, and that the rabbinic story pushes that political reality into the background, instead focusing on the spiritual. For the rabbis, although Hanukkah did celebrate the rededication of the temple, they were in a very different situation. The temple had ultimately been destroyed by the Romans. They were living after the year 70 of the Common Era. Their temple had been destroyed. What could Hanukkah mean to them in their day? So they wanted a Hanukkah whose real meaning could endure even when there was no longer any temple. So for the rabbis, Hanukkah was about God protecting the weak, helping us to defy the odds, showing us how to tend the lamp of God's teaching, and thus hold at bay the darkness of alien rule over our people, a darkness that repeatedly threatened to engulf the Jew. The historical Hanukkah is about celebrating a victory. The reinterpreted Hanukkah of the rabbis is ultimately about enduring a defeat. As the late-night TV sales pitches say, but wait, there's more. There is more. The political, historical Hanukkah is about the public square. What could be a more public space than the courtyard of the temple in Jerusalem? It's as if Roman Catholics had regained the Vatican after a heroic struggle, and it had been captured by atheists or by jihadists. They finally have it back. They want to celebrate. The celebration of the historical Hanukkah is made for sound trucks and giant displays. Now, life is full of ironies. In our contemporary Jewish world, soundtracks and giant displays plus Hanukkah equals Chabad public relations programs. Think Hanukkah at Mount Rushmore or something similar. And yet, the Hanukkah celebrations that our Chabad neighbors conduct only give passing attention to the historical victory. They emphasize the candle lighting, turning it into a Jewish version of lighting the White House Christmas tree. If we look more closely at the emotional essence of the rabbinic Hanukkah, which is the Hanukkah of legend, we realize that contrary to the hoopla of the current generation's loud, in-your-face lamp lighting, the rabbinic Hanukkah was tailored for home observance. Yes, we used to put a lamp in a niche in the door right next to the doorway. And then later on, we put the menorah on a windowsill facing the street to give a nod to the notion that we should publicize the miracle of Hanukkah. But essentially, Hanukkah was observed across the Jewish world throughout the long centuries of diaspora Judaism by families in the privacy of their homes. Think of your own childhood Hanukkah memories. They're not about rallies, they're about family groupings standing around a menorah. And that's what gets us to the year 2020. Apart from bringing relatives into our space virtually, thanks to the telecommunications magic of Zoom, we are again advised to find ways to celebrate at home. Vaccines are coming around the mountain when they come, but this is still the winter of our discontent. Be safe, be careful, keep your distance from those who have not sheltered with you. These are the times for more private Hanukkah, the Hanukkah of legend. We have to banish darkness, not with the Klieg lights of an outdoor arena, but with the soft glow of the candle or of the oil lamp. Even a modest light is enough to light up your Jewish soul. Happy Hanukkah.